Welcome to the Shifting People podcast, where we go deep into the weeds with leaders on the front lines of people management in the service industry. We interview the best minds in HR and talent acquisition, along with owner-operators, franchisees, and general managers to bring you real insights that you can actually apply in your business today. I'm your co-host, Derek Williamson.
And I'm Kathleen McDonough, and it's time to get to work. Today we have Ed Janikowski, District Manager. Thank you so much for being here with us, Ed.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So before we get into some of the topics we have, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
It's a long journey. So if you want some popcorn and some soda, go ahead and sit back and relax because it could go a long time. Things you don't know about yourself until you actually start to do it. When I was young, my parents owned businesses and just already planned on being a part of that and running the business. Unfortunately, that did not work out. And so then you switch gears and what your thought processes are. Everybody said, "But I can see you as a cop." So I said, okay, I'll try for the police department. And at that time, the hiring was more focused on a different demographic than it was myself working through the process. So started doing some schooling for that. And then I was told it'd be easier for me to just go into the military. I said, okay. So at that time, I had long hair and hair. And I'm like, okay, we'll give this a shot. I was doing a lot of working out and stuff like that. So I said, so I went and applied, took the test, and literally they brought me back into a room. And I'm like, oh, great. How can I mess this up? I'm just here to take a test. So they said, yeah, you don't qualify for military police. And I'm like, oh, what am I, a janitor? They said, no, you tested out as an E5. We need to have you retest. Went back in, did the test again, tested out, E5 again. So they said, you are definitely leadership. We need you to go in this process. The opportunity is great for you. I said, okay. And here's me at 18, just all right. And so then I got as far as they take you to Howard Johnson's back in the day, and you get to eat your free breakfast, and then you go ahead and sign this, and then it goes from there. Then the dumbest question I asked was, I said, oh, so my hair. Yeah, we're going to cut your hair. I'm like, yeah, I'll see you later. So I decided not to go that route. So then I went back and stayed working for my father, worked out a lot, started doing some competition a little bit. And then I had met my first wife, and she was in the restaurant field already. So my father and I just didn't see eye to eye, old ways, new ways. So the one thing my wife at the time, only word she's ever said that's meaningful, besides being a speed bump, oh, sorry, that was out loud, is the fact of everybody's got to eat. Sure. So I applied at a restaurant that was a franchise out in the area, and this is back when you had regular phones. So once I got back home after doing the interview, there was a call there for me, and they said, we'd like to hire you. So they hired me as an assistant manager. I literally was there for 6 months, and then I was running 12 locations for them.
Wow.
So I did that for about 5 years. And then from there, they were selling. And then I ended up getting involved into full service restaurant. Said, you know what, I'm just going to be a server. Just have some fun. I'm divorced now. I'm going to make some cash and figure out my life I want to do. Loved it. I loved the opportunity to work with the customers, with the leadership team. And they said, hey, you want to go into leadership? No, I just want to be a server, making money. I'm having fun. I'm enjoying this. And then I met my current wife that we've been together actually 28 years last week.
Okay,
congrats.
Yes, it's been great. And the stories with that is she was a server for such a long time. So you got your regulars. And so one day she was off, and I literally was taking one of her regulars' tables. Yeah, they weren't her regulars anymore after that. So that's always the running joke, because I would steal her regulars because it's me. So did that. And then I decided to go, once I was getting married, I go, you know what, I'm going to go into leadership. So the full service restaurant, I ended up doing that, became a general manager for them, worked there for a couple of years. And then I was recruited away from them to a corporate environment that wanted to take their corporate standings from fast food to more of better customer service. So take the full service background into the quick service atmosphere. So I did that for probably about 2 years. And then from there, I was promoted to what they call an ops consultant. So I ran 8 of their locations for the corporate, did that for another 7 more years. And from there, I had an opportunity because I was doing a lot of building with that brand. A project manager position came open from somebody that I was using. Did that for a little over a year. Loved that opportunity. Unfortunately, it just didn't go in the right direction with the ownership. And then I'm like, okay, full service. That came back and said, we need you to run 3 of our locations. So I did that. And they gave me the 3 best locations in Wisconsin. That's sarcasm. I literally had fun doing that. I knew how to run my day and what I wanted to do because the fact is you're dealing with different groups of individuals at different times of the day. So you knew where you needed to be to help develop them. And you know what really through the development of my career, you always pick up little things here and there. So the job became as a multi-leader easier because the fact is you're taking all the little tidbits from everything you've done over your career to make your job easier. So I did that. And then I was recruited to a more fast casual that was looking for somebody to multi-lead. And I went to that opportunity and they literally, we grew the business. I was involved in helping with over 15 locations of building it up, managing, getting the managers and per se, and working with them. That went on for close to almost 9 years. Then I had an opportunity to move into a little bit of ownership and more of a buy-in with a brand, but unfortunately that only lasted a year. And then I was able to go into a different brand that was really expanding in the market, doing a great job with it. They needed somebody with leadership. I ended up helping oversee 3 locations for them. Volume was insane. It was great. And then, of course, I got recruited again. So I guess the positive thing is, I don't know what an application looks like. The recruitment part is always nice. And this was something new, something exciting to the area. And it was something that really intrigued me. I worked with these individuals before, so it was great. Had that opportunity to really expand and build something over the next 3 years and be a part of. And so you look at a resume, you're like, check, got that underneath my belt now. And then I was recruited to where I currently am now and enjoy everything about it. It checks off all the boxes. There will be no more recruiting. I'm done. I enjoy what I do so much that the brand and the franchise that I work for are outstanding and they're focused on what they're trying to achieve in lines with what I'm trying to achieve and reality. You have your ups and downs, but it's a brand that's still growing and it will keep growing. And there's so many more markets that you can develop into that you can really see the success that it's coming down the line. That's in a nutshell. I've got 3 daughters. I have a grandchild, 2.5 years old. My middle child is special needs. So she's 27 with a mentality mind of maybe a 3-year-old. She's with us for the rest of our lives, of course. Wouldn't trade her in for the world. And then I have my youngest who is going to be 20 or is 20, I'm sorry. And she goes to Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She always wanted to go away somewhere for school. Don't know why. Wisconsin's such a great place to be. I was kidding. The weather is awesome. So, yeah. And that's about it for Ed.
Wow. There's so much there. It's amazing. That's like a full life journey summed up in like 2 minutes. That's fantastic. There were so many things that I actually want to go back to that were great along the way. The first one was this idea that like when you started in the military and well, before they told you cut the hair, but the idea that you tested out at an E5 is what you said. And they said, "Oh, you're definitely leadership." Like that idea of testing out to leadership or at least a leadership track or something like that. Do you think that could work for restaurant like it does for military?
That's a great point. The thing is, when you look at leadership, one of the things I've always told everybody, there's 3 things of leadership, right? You're born with it. It's just, you're born with talent as far as whatever it is, but for leadership, you can be born with it. And it's just a natural ability that you learn, deal with everything else. And then there's the second part of leadership where literally you can learn it. You have the capability, you have the bandwidth to learn it with the right training, with the right environment, you could really succeed well. And then there's the leadership where someone shouldn't even know how to spell the word leadership. You may be a great welder or a car salesman, but you're not a leader, unfortunately. I'm sorry. And we see a lot of that part of the third one that I wake up, I'm a leader. I know how to do that. Oh, I'm better than you. In their mindset, because of social media or whatever else, they see these things on TikTok and, oh, I can do that. No, you can't. You're putting in an environment on a video. That's great. You can see those things. That's fun. That's awesome. Yeah. But now when you're there, you got 6 things going over here, 2 things going over here, 3 things going over there. And then I see you running out the door because that leadership you thought you knew is now gone. So testing, and the way that testing, in my opinion, it's twofold. One, you should have the interview process. Always interview face to face, not over the phone. It serves no purpose, in my opinion, because body language says a lot. And if you have the opportunity to physically look in someone's eye, you can tell if somebody's giving you a line or they're hesitant to add something because in their mind they're thinking of ways that they're going to lie to you because they really want this job or they have to get this job. And so that face to face. And once that process is done, a testing process, and it needs to be no more than competencies on what you think. What are the core competencies that you're trying to successfully get in this location or that location, and test them out on there. People say, oh, I'm scared of tests. Competency tests are different. You can really see. And then you come around to the third. Now you can bring up the competencies and you don't have to tell them per se, but you can deliver questions from those competencies to see if they align on what you're looking for. So the answer to your question, yes.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I love that you said, maybe you didn't say it explicitly, but not everyone should go into leadership, right? Not everyone is built for it. Just because you think you want to be a leader does not mean you maybe have the innate ability or skills to do. I also, there was this kind of theme with what something you mentioned, and then also someone else that was on the podcast a few weeks ago that actually it releases next week, I think, marriage as a catalyst to wanting to go into leadership, right?
Yeah.
When you got married, you were like, oh, maybe I'll stop the server gig now and look into leadership. And I think it was Anthony, our recent guest, that's the same thing. He got married and he was like, oh, now it's time to go into leadership. And I wonder if those are just 2 cases. I wonder if that's maybe more widely than we might realize.
If you think about it, when you look at leadership, then you're looking at job security. I look at that, everybody's got to eat. And it doesn't matter what the economy, when you had the COVID or flu or whatever you want to call it, you literally didn't matter. People were still going to spend money because the fact is they work all day or they do this and they need to have some kind of outlet to take their family to or bring something home to their family. Someone's got to eat. And the thing is with leadership, and once, you have to make a commitment now. Oh no, I got a house, I've got a dog, I've got a cat, I've got a baby, I got a wife now. Oh my gosh, this jumping from this to this, and maybe I'll make this much today as a server or this and that. No, you can build consistency, and now you have a focus of understanding what your dollar income's coming in to focus on your family, because you've now made that jump into the family, and you're like, now I've got to have solid ground to be on. And with leadership, that is solid ground because it's not for everybody or the faint of heart. It's literally an opportunity and the strength. If you do it well, you know what? You don't have to worry about looking for a new job every time because there will always be one there for leaders, for great leaders.
Ed, I have to ask, speaking on leaders, and you alluded to a little bit like how you think about the process for recruiting leaders. I would love to know, so obviously you've got years of experience either bringing people up from within an organization or hiring externally for leadership. I'd really love to know anything where your thinking has maybe changed over the years. If you were advising yourself 20 years ago when you were just getting into things, what would you tell yourself? What's changed, or any thoughts there?
Oh, I'd be whipping my own ass for a while. But then once I came out of the cooler from kicking my own, the refocus is this. Back in the day, you could say whatever day you want to talk, in the 80s, 90s, whatever, is I think the focus was more on external hiring. And when I got recruited from full service into quick service and on the corporate side of it, everybody in that environment was, hey, we go through the process up. We go through, this is how this chain works. And here's the outside guy coming in going, hey, you broke this chain. What are you doing here? And I think that was something that at the time people were against, because it started to evolve where outside was better, because what was working on inside wasn't building that consistency. So outside mentality of new ideas, new understandings was more important. What I think the pendulum is switching now, in my opinion, is we need to focus more on the internal candidates with all the training and environments that we have. You've already brought them there. You've developed them. Now, if they're that middle person for learning, not the third, the latter, but the middle for learning and teaching and coaching and developing those individuals, will give you that opportunity to somebody that's already bought into the system. Now you've tweaked them. They know what to expect. And now you can bring them on and do a better job. Not only that, the cost savings on that alone is huge. Now, don't get me wrong. You've got a restaurant that you look around and saying they're great team members. They do what they're supposed to do. They're consistent, but I don't have a leader here. That's where you pull in the process of getting new candidates in. But we're scared to do that for multiple reasons. In society, we've made a decision to say, okay, I got to apply for a job. I'm on unemployment right now. As long as I show via text that I've applied for a place, I can keep my unemployment going. So I'm going to throw out an Indeed app and I'll get 30 candidates. And out of the 30 candidates, maybe 20 of them are worth looking at. And you send out a message to all 20 of them. And literally what happens is maybe 10 will show up. The other 10 already took that text message that you provided, because text messaging is the way to go. Phone calls, forget it. Emails, forget it. Text message. We're always on our phones. You text them, hey, this is Ed from blah, blah, blah. I see that you applied for a position with blah, and I'd like to have an opportunity for you to reach back out to me and let me know what would be a good time. Text me a time that will work good for you. And then you get some of them individuals that can't follow directions on the text. They'll call you. I'm like, did you not? Yeah. No, check. You're not under. But they'll take that information, pull it for unemployment. And the funny thing is, people can say, oh, that's not. I can tell you it is, because I do everything text message. So when someone applies again a couple months down the line, I've already got a text from them before. And I'll text them and said, what's changed from the last time you applied here? No response back. Because now you caught them. And unfortunately, that's where going outside is so hard. Now, recruiters are a great concept, and I know that's what we're talking a little bit about, but it is, because they're filtering everything out, but people are scared about the cost involved in that. When you're looking at the higher up positions, you're looking at a cost of $5,000, $10,000 for them. And if they don't last the 6 months or whatever, because of the environment that they were hired in, they're like, this isn't for me. I'm out. Where the internals, if you can develop the internals, they already know the environment, because you provided that good environment for them that's caused them to stay as long as they have. So it's a pendulum that keeps swinging back and forth, and how the philosophy. But my younger self, it was more of, at times was, you're breathing, great. You're hired. And you ruled with an iron fist. You told them how it's going to be. This is going to be it. You don't like it, there's a door. Now, hey, I want to develop you. I want you to be better. I want to help you succeed so I succeed. And I think we've switched that mentality, of course, which is better to keep individuals more entertained and more as far as their job and knowing the security that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great you said that, because I think it's not just you, it's everyone, that it's the pendulum has swung from that environment of ruling with an iron fist and hiring people, warm bodies, just to developing people and realizing slowly but surely everyone is realizing people are what makes every business great. So we really need to invest in people. I was going to ask you though, are there any like concrete examples of how you choose which people to invest in and develop? Maybe they show X, Y, and Z signs, or maybe they show up early and stay late, or what are those? How can you spot those individuals that are worth putting some time into developing?
And it's a great question. And it's funny that I was just talking to one of my GMs just yesterday about an individual that I sat down with that was working for him and asked that question if this person was interested in moving their career a little further. And the reason was, and I explained it to him, was the head was on a swivel. It's an individual that can sit there and do the task at hand, and it was constantly looking around, trying to see what's going on. When you see a leader head on a swivel is a prerequisite, in my opinion, because they need to know what's going on, not the blinders. But if you just watch them and they're constantly looking around, that's somebody that cares. That's somebody that's looking at to see if something's going to happen. Are we taking care of our guests? And then the ones that are self-involved, that they'll, when they're done, they're not asking or looking, they're doing. They're going out into a dining room, cleaning tables, they're checking, they're wiping, they're picking up after a guest. Those are the individuals that are self-starters that you have the ability to work with. Again, that's something they're born with. That's something that they're doing just to do it. It's their driving force, because you've got those other individuals that constantly have to be told what to do, telling them to get off their phone, because that's always the new thing, the phone. Get your earbud out or whatever it is. And you like to see those individuals that their head's on a swivel because they're constantly paying attention to what's going on. Those are the ones you really want to focus on, you want to drive towards. Showing up, they need a job for whatever reason, so they're going to show up. And sometimes you get people just show up, but they just show up. They're not individuals that are making an impact. Where somebody you watch that has got their head on a swivel, looking around, trying to see what's going on, asking the right questions. Those are individuals that that you can develop into something better.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Head on a swivel. That's a good, like, kind of key takeaway of look for the employees who have their head on a swivel, look for the ones that are not, that are doing, not asking.
Right.
Those are
They're
two.
thinking one step ahead. They're looking,
Always.
what else do I have to do once I finish serving this customer, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, what else can I do? Not what do I have to do next? Can I do? Yeah, those are amazing. Those are such good ones. And unless Derek wants to talk a little more about leadership anymore, but pivoting a little bit to what you mentioned about the struggle of getting some bad locations you mentioned, and I wanted to dive into that a little bit if you don't mind. And then you mentioned also the high volume locations, and I wonder if you could like just give your experience on like how do you deal with all these different types of locations that you can be given as like manager, operations leader, district leader, even franchisees, right? You might come into a situation with some really high volume locations, some very low volume locations, bad locations. What are the difference between those? And then how do you approach those? Because they're totally different kind of like businesses, right?
Correct. Something that I've always done, it's always been the 5 Ps or the 6 Ps. And the 5 Ps are pre-planning prevents poor performance. Okay. And if you take,
Pre-planning prevents poor.
pre-planning prevents poor performance, right? So if you're pre-planning, you're knowing a situation and correct the bad stores, opportunity locations, right? And if you're pre-planning around that, you're able to be successful. But when you have people that follow the 6 Ps, don't take offense to this, anybody, when I say piss poor planning promotes poor performance. And that's really, if you're not planning, you're just going into a high volume location or a location with opportunities, and you're going to get eaten alive. You literally are going to get sucked into the vortex and you're not coming back. You're going to be out the back door running, screaming because you didn't follow the 5 Ps of planning on what you wanted to accomplish here. And when you go into an opportunity location, just head on a swivel, eyes wide open, mouth shut. Look, see, document, write down, because once you go in there and you start barking off this, that, and everything, you're losing focus of what you're trying to accomplish, and you're not going to be able to ever get it back. So it's important that you go in there with a fresh mind, eyesight, and understanding that it isn't going to be easy, or you come in with a positive attitude that you need to have, and you're going to look and say, okay, I can work with this, I can work with that. And then you put the plans in place and how you're going to accomplish that.
Yeah, I love that because in that there's this idea of if say a district manager goes into a location, looks at the stats before they go into that location and says, "Oh, this is a high volume location with X, Y, and Z traits. Oh, I've had one like this before. I know what to do." Those are still two totally different beasts. Every location and their individual team members and their community that comes in as guests are totally different. So going in, like you said, with just listening and learning at first to learn exactly what it is that makes this location unique and then how to solve the problems they have or make them better is such a good idea. You can't almost maybe you can pre-plan, but
You
not
can't template it.
template.
Yeah,
Yes, template.
correct.
All right. He's the other half of my brain.
Yeah.
Left or right.
Probably switches. Yeah, I agree. I think my little Johnson, I was in the ice cream business for about 9 years, right? And I never thought about it that way, but like when you come into a store and you can tell we're either in reactive mode or we are proactive. And you're right, like it is so easy to just get pulled into that sort of reactive mode of like, all right, like everything is going wrong, so roll up your sleeves. But then it compounds, especially in this industry, more than a lot of other industries, right? Because it's unavoidable, right? If you didn't prep properly, and so now everyone's like scrambling because they don't have enough meats or whatever it is, then someone didn't pull something from the freezer, and it all just compounds, and then the staff are burned out, and then you're short staffed, and it just really can get away from you. So it's coming in with like sort of objective eyes and saying, all right, what is actually happening here first before I get pulled in?
Yep.
Yeah. But and I'd love to dig into that a little bit more too. Obviously, like creating good store environments and store cultures, like team cultures, is pretty crucial in this industry. You've seen, I'm sure, many different, like, I'm curious, like, you've probably seen some different cultures in stores that work, even though they're totally different. I have a friend, for example, who in his workplace, he's like an engineer or something, but his manager, like, they don't talk about anything outside of work ever. But he said that works because it's 5 people that like they all want to just do the work and not talk about other stuff. So I'm sure you've seen many different things that still seem to work, but what are some of the kind of key ingredients that you see in terms of creating just like a good store culture, good environment? How do you foster it? How do you build on it?
That's correct. And to your point, yeah, culture is everything. We know that. We know it from anything. Back in the day, the culture was get it done or you're out. That was just it, because nobody wanted to ever cross the boss. The word was boss. You hear
Right.
now, it's leader. I don't send an email out ever, very rarely, to an individual. It's always team. I always, hey, team, boom, text message, team. And the thing is, you've got to have that availability to understand that everybody likes to be included. Back in the day, if somebody wasn't included, they were okay with it because they weren't getting yelled at. There was something not going on. Hey, I'm not being, oh, that means I'm doing good. I'm not getting pulled out. We didn't do a lot of praising back in the day as much as we do now. And one of the things for a culture that I've always done through my career, whenever I walk into a restaurant, I say hi to everybody individually. And when I leave, I always say bye. It's been my thing forever. That makes them as an individual versus a number or hey, you. We've got a lot of individuals and you don't know everybody's name. It's so just that hi, the recognition, they feel something. Hey, that's the district man. And he just said hi to me. Oh, yeah, that's Ed. He's always, and that builds that culture right there, knowing. So the GMs, it's the same thing. If I catch a GM coming in from their store and I'm already there and they didn't say hi to everybody, I'll even pull them aside and say, what'd you miss? You need to say hi to everybody. Just, I don't care what's going on outside of those doors. I don't care. Everybody's got an issue outside those doors. There's not one person that has a great life out there that can bring it inside, right? Everybody has opportunities and issues. And If you leave it outside the door, it's something we've always talked about. But if we enforce it continuously, then you just having that positive culture inside because you don't have that negativity coming in from outside. I tell these guys all the time, you've got to work. We just have to work. And unless you win the lottery, and don't forget about Ed, you got to work. So what kind of environment do you want to show up every day to make sure that you come into work knowing that this is where you want to be? And that comes with the leader and top down. If we provide a different brand of our culture and trying to change it where that GM has a different culture that works for them, we're not doing it any justice there. That GM's got to, then as an upper leader, we need to adjust our thought process to follow theirs because they're getting the results. Now, I'm not talking it's an HR nightmare where you see those TikTok videos because you called somebody a name and you see them walk in because they're going to. No, I'm talking about an environment that has worked well for that GM because their individuals bought them. And how do you know that? Turnover, consistency. I've got a location where in a year and a half, I don't think we've had one turnover. And because of that culture there and everybody works along and works well together, works for them. But to your point, it doesn't work in every situation, demographic reasons or whatever. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right in terms of everything you said there, especially the top down thing, right? And the little things. I really love, like, this is why we started the podcast, right? It's like getting to those small things, those small actions that you do every day that really change the culture. And I'd love your reaction on I just heard this in the news, and we've seen it with a few different chains, but one retailer, I think I just named them, Target, recently said they're trying to get back to customer service. And so now they're mandating that employees smile and talk to customers. And I'm curious what your thoughts are, not maybe Target specifically, we're not picking on them, but I'm sure you've seen iterations of that where you try and go bottom up. How do you think that's going to work? What's your reaction to that?
Again, we're in the people business, right? If you chose to go into retail or a restaurant, you're in the people business. So you have to be able to talk, smile, communicate, right? Those are people oriented things. We've got a lot of introverts out there that you are not going to get to smile. They may be a great individual working, making a product or stocking a product, are not going to be talking to them. Again, that culture, as we discussed, is where you place old story, aces in their places, right? And we want to diversify. We want to be able to cross train and get everybody there. But individuals, you got to make the right call. You can't tell somebody that they have to smile. Okay. You made that hire. You hired them for what this is. Now, if a brand decides to change their thought process and top down, and this is how we're going to enforce it, you're going to have chaos. And you've already built a culture that allowed this to happen. And you're going to flick a switch and think it's going to change the next day. It ain't going to happen. You got to build a culture over time. And if you have the right leaders that makes that happen, you wouldn't be coming out. And like I said, I didn't hear this about Target, but you wouldn't be coming out with saying, this is what we're demanding. In the people business, guests are 100%. 100%. Now, do I think a guest are 100% correct every time? No. And stop thinking it is. That's the old school mentality, right? Everybody's got an agenda. And we focus and we do our job as taking care of the guests. You provide great guest service, smiles, communication, and then you provide them with a high quality product that they came in to enjoy. And you know what? And it's accurate. You've already won them. They're going to come back. They're going to be consistent and they're going to come back. Now, if you're constantly going over them with big teeth and how is everything, and they're not used to it, you're scaring the crap out of them. And they may not come back again because they're not used to it, because this is what their focus was. It's a slippery slope, and how you could do it. And you had to put tests behind it, figure it out, track this, track that. Did that work? Did this work? Did our OSAT or SFG, whatever you want to talk it, for surveys, are they going up because of that? Are they going down? Are we getting less? Are we getting more? There's so many different variables, but you're also setting yourself up to play with the system too. Because the fact is, if you say, hey, I need to have more surveys. a leader may just say, all right, guys, you guys all fill out these surveys because I need to get that up there. So get these guys off my back. They're not buying into that culture now. You're just buying into that they told you have to do this. And under any means necessary, you're going to do that. So
Yeah.
you're really not setting that culture up to be consistent to get the results that you're looking for.
You're not. You're doing things for the sake of doing them. Right? And
Right.
it's never going to work. And you made a good point there. You're going to scare them if you come off with that big smile. And I think there's a trend of consumers and guests being more introverted now than ever before too. People don't want to go to a store and interact. They want to just get their shopping done and stuff like that. And if they want to talk to someone, they will go up and ask someone. So I agree with you that it's maybe not the right move. And if you were just making it a good place to work, so they want to show up and they want to naturally ask guests, hey, can I help you with something? Organic is always going to win over something forced.
100%.
I wonder if you had mentioned a little bit last time we talked about the importance of flexibility in hiring. And I wonder if that's something that you can share a little bit about, like how you do it, how you think about it, and how that works for you.
Flexibility in this day and age is really the focus you need to have, because the fact is so many different things, like we talked about before, your vision on work is first, family and God and everything second, and now how this generation's changed around where work may be third, maybe even fourth, depending on who they are or what they are. So to get the individuals into the locations, because you have to open and close a store, your very first thing, as I tell leaders, is the 5 Ps, of course. Again, that pre-planning prevents poor performance. And the idea is your schedule. You need X amount of people on a Monday for lunch, or X amount of people on a Wednesday for dinner, or a Friday or a Saturday. So you lay those out, and now your regular staff is there, plus whatever percentage you want, 10, 20% extra, or 2 or 3 extra bodies. Now you see where your holes are. So when you're interviewing individuals and they're looking for that flexibility piece, you lay them down and say, okay, what does that look like to you? You throw it back on the individual you're interviewing, throw it back on them. What are you looking for? If this is the ideal place that you want to pick, what are you looking at? One of the things I always ask is when I'm interviewing is, why did you choose us? And that's where you want that face to face, because you were the first on them. You're going to see them. Oh, I followed you, or I've eaten this place so many times. I feel like I need to be here. And you can see that on the face to face. But then when you ask them, what are they looking for? They're taken back a little bit, because they're used to being told, yeah, you work 8 to 7 these 2 days, 4 to close these 3 days. If you're interested in it, I've got that for you. If not, I've got 5 more people that are looking for a job. Don't worry about it. I appreciate it. We'll keep your resume on file. But when you sit there and you ask them, what are they looking for? Really, I got school on Wednesdays and Fridays from till noon, but I can work anytime after that. Okay, so what we're saying here is I can lock you in every Friday and every Wednesday from 4 to close. Is that going to work good for you? Oh my God, that'd be great. Now you've got that buy-in, and you're providing that culture you already have, because the employees that are currently working there and are seeing someone getting hired, they're like, oh my God, are my hours going to be taken away? Am I not doing my job? No, you're already working your hours. You can't work these extra hours. Now I'm going to have somebody fill in those spots, but your hours are still set. That's how that culture becomes full circle when you're working with individuals to get that to happen. And people don't have to sit there and worry about their position or worry about this, that, or the other thing, because the flexibility, you're just filling those gaps that you need to help you sleep at night. So it works. And being flexible, anybody that does a schedule and is able to lock in spots on a schedule, it's easier to look at to schedule, knowing that those are locked in, because you've helped fit their needs. They're going to be there every time with a smile on their face, happy to do their job. And they're going to make sure that they're consistent with it, and you don't have to worry about those shifts now. That's a scheduler's dream. So being flexible is perfect.
Yeah. I love that approach too. Like, I think with Uber and all these other, like, the gig thing really forced a lot of the industry to rethink this. What's interesting is a lot of people thought the answer was like, we'll make our work like gig work, when really the benefit you can offer is we can be flexible in how we schedule you, but then you can also have a predictable schedule, which historically in this industry was not a thing either, right? It'd be every week you have a totally different thing, and you're like, oh, I guess there goes my whole weekend because and so it's shifted, and I think that's a really good approach. Ed, we're running up on time. I feel like we could probably do a 4-hour episode and still have more things we wanted to ask you. But just as we think to wrap up, anything that you'd like to give a shout out to, as far as, I don't know if you're currently looking externally for any leadership. We might have some restaurant leaders who listen to this, or just anything else you'd like to plug. Give you a little space to do that.
Perfect. For me, I'll tell you, LinkedIn is a force that I like. And when I first started with LinkedIn, I started doing this daily quote Monday through Friday. And to me, my whole process behind that was, if somebody can get something out of it, learn something from it, it helps them through their day, or if they want to share it with their staff or whatever, to me, hey, great. And I love the fact is I get people that respond back, hey, thanks for this, that was great. Or I see some that are reposted. And I looked the other day, like I was telling you guys last week about, I've got over 1,500 followers. I'm like, I don't even know 15 people. How do I got 1,500 followers? So that tells me it's great that people are looking at it and using it to their benefits. Or if it helps one person to get through the day of work or whatever it is, to me, that's great. I'm all about the fact is, let's help. Helping is the key for anything we do. And it's important that we're consistent with that, because you do one until others. It is true to a point, but helping somebody succeed, that's a benefit. That's worthwhile, right? That's something that you can feel good about yourself. You can catch yourself, you get off of a shift, or I've been in locations where you just had a great day and everything was good. You can probably catch yourself skipping, but you don't want to be seen skipping. So in your mind, you're skipping to your car, you're like fist pumping. This is great. Why not have that every day be like that, right? Instead of oncoming traffic because you're pissed off and you're holding on to the wheel because, oh, this was a bad. No, be involved, be happy, be a part of somebody, help grow, be a mentor. Those are all great things that we need to do to help everybody else. That's what I take out of it.
Amazing. And we'll make sure to drop the link to your LinkedIn profile so you can add even more followers to the 1,500. But the power of social media. But Ed, this is a wonderful conversation. It's always great to listen to someone and learn from someone who's been in the industry, seen so many different sides of it, and seen it evolve. Because that, like, when you see that evolution, it allows you to really make the observations and the learnings, like they're just more, they're easier to surface. But all that said, awesome conversation, Ed. Thank you again for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Ed is great. Funny guy, but also just a fountain of knowledge, which you get from a few decades in the industry.
Yeah. Oh, he's hilarious. And one thing that I'm so impressed with is his very self-aware change from over the years of like old school mentality to like new school mentality. And it's very clear that he, over his decades in the industry, has like kept up with the times and what's changing and like new philosophies and ways of leading. And you don't always see that with leaders who have been around forever. Some stay stuck in a rut of like how things were always done. And it's so refreshing to see someone that has gone from like old school to new school. That is, you don't see it often.
You're right. You're right. You and I have interacted with folks in the past who you could tell maybe they didn't exactly say it as I'm old school and I like to yell at people, but you could tell that's how they were approaching it. And this idea that anyone who works for me should be thankful that they have a job and I have a stack of resumes. And on one side, it's employees now, like workers have more options and more opportunities, but also just the mindset has changed. When I think, and it is a win-win for everyone, because I don't think anyone enjoys being the person that has to come in and yell at everyone all the time either.
Absolutely not. And even his like little things that are a little more innovative than some new school like leaders, right? Like of like flexibility in giving like the importance of giving your employees flexibility in their schedules and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of people approach it like, oh, you have to give X, Y, and Z days. You have to work the weekends. You have to do this. And I love that he has a different approach to those things.
Yeah, and just figuring out what, like, if flexibility has almost become a buzzword. So it's like, what does that actually mean?
Yes, put it back on them, like he said.
So
What does
I
it
like
mean?
it's a
Yeah.
good approach. And obviously it's gonna fit the business, but you can work around a lot of things. So I agree. But Kathleen, a lot to choose from with that
Yeah.
episode. But how are you feeling for a shifting question?
Oh, there's so much to choose from. All right, so I have a kind of basic version and then the more advanced version of my question.
Fun.
Okay. I think you could probably sense it in the episode. I absolutely loved when he said that when looking for potential leaders, look for people with their head on a swivel. Look for people that are not asking, just doing things, right? Without being prompted. And so my basic version would be to walk into one of your locations and look around. Who has their head on a swivel? Who is doing things without being asked? Going that extra mile. Or maybe even he didn't mention about picking up extra shifts or staying late. Who are doing those things that you might not have noticed already? So maybe you can notice some new potential leaders. And more advanced version would be what can you maybe start asking in interviews to find those people coming in who have that mentality. I'm sure there's a plethora of questions to get at the root of that. And how can you start thinking about that in interviews and finding people earlier on that have that mentality?
Yeah, I mean, with interviews, is it drawing from specific experiences? A lot of people in this industry like people that have played sports, right? Because there's you have to be worried about your play, but also everyone on the field kind of thing, right? But there's probably many different experiences or different questions you could ask to draw that out. So I like that. It's a good thinker.
Thanks. I'm sure you have a thinker of a question too. You always do.
Always.
Always.
And I can't quite narrow it down, so I'm just gonna go with two. One is
Fair.
more of a prompt, and then the other one's a question. So the sort of more prompt, I like just how he framed this idea of like when you come into a store in their case, like reading the room first, right? Before you just get sucked into this vortex of like panic and reactivity, and especially anyone who's worked in the restaurant industry has come into this or retail where like they're short staffed and it's just chaos and everyone's just like running around. And it's
Mhm.
so easy to just try and jump in without thinking and you're not really being as effective in helping. But the prompt is just like over the next couple of weeks, like every time you go into a location, if you're in that kind of a work environment, just assess. It, first question you ask, are we in a proactive state right now or a reactive state? Because I think that's really telling. And when people are in a reactive state, it helps to have someone come in and take that bird's eye view and say, all right, here's where we're at. Here are the things we need to do to get back on track for the day or week or whatever it is. So that's number one. That's my little challenge.
Yeah.
The second one, I'm going to try and frame it, bundle it into a question, but we got on an interesting little tangent. Ed talked about like leaders having to demonstrate the actions that, you want to see in your restaurant, right? And making the point of saying hi to every single person, like little things like that. And that's just like top down approach, right? In terms of if you want to be setting a culture, if you want to shift a culture, you have to demonstrate those actions. And then we talked about target and doing what sort of prescription top down, but expecting employees on the front lines to suddenly shift their actions. You haven't created an environment for them to want to be able to smile and whatnot. I think the question is, are you approaching things in a way, if you're trying to shift behaviors, whether it's if you're in a restaurant environment, maybe you're trying to get employees to upsell more or to engage with customers more, or retail, probably similar, but even other industries, this can apply. What kind of behaviors are you trying to shift?
Mm.
And there's really two ways to do it, right? It's, you have your leaders demonstrate the actions that you want to see, or you look at what are employees doing right now that is great that we want to replicate, and we pull that out and we try and create an environment like again through the leaders. I think it's like challenging. My question is, are you approaching it in a way that your employees, your frontline team, are actually going to engage with? Or have you not actually created the environment for them to want to do that? And even if it's something like trying to drive upsells or something, yeah, they might be going through the motions, right? And hitting the number or whatever, but are they actually bought in? And that's a really big difference. It's subtle, but so hopefully I captured a question in there.
Yeah, I think there was a question
I
in
think
there.
there was a question.
Yeah, I think it boils down to telling someone to do something is never going to have as good of a result as making them motivated to do it themselves.
Spot
So,
on.
are you telling your employees to do something, or are you motivating them to want to do that thing?
Exactly.
Maybe that's a version of the question. And I think
Yeah.
motivating someone to want to do something is twofold. It can be doing it yourself, so you lead by example, and they're like, "Oh, I want to replicate that. I want to do what he does and be like him." Or it could be something as simple as a ex- a contest or something that gets them excited about doing it, as opposed to just a demand from
Right.
the top.
Right. That comes from something that they want to see rather than a manager or a leader trying to come up with that kind of stuff on their own and then push it on their employees. But yeah, I know there's the overall theme of a lot of that stuff. Again, we picked on Target, but other companies like have been doing this kind of thing too, where they're trying to like re-inject this like customer, not even customer service, but like customer friendliness. And you can't just like carbon copy what someone else is doing and
Yeah.
just say, hey, they're doing this thing and let's just throw this in. I'm reminded of Chick-fil-A famously, anytime you say thank you, they always say my pleasure. If you just, some other chain decides, yeah, we're going to enforce that too, it doesn't mean that you suddenly get Chick-fil-A type of culture, right? Like,
Absolutely. Yep. Replicating isn't going to work best. Finding something in your own culture that is unique, that is connects with customers, that is a reason your guests come, and then expounding on that. And maybe there's some locations that do it, some that don't, but like growing it across your company is always going to come with like better results. Guests can feel when something is manufactured versus when something is just natural and organic.
yeah, yeah, 100%. This was a good one. I thought we got a lot of good questions, a lot of good thinking. And I think I look forward to chatting with Ed more potentially in the future as well. As so many of our guests, you give these folks a platform and like just endless sort of knowledge and ideas and things come out. So it's just really exciting when we get folks on for this. But until
Absolutely.
the next time,
Bye for now.
bye for now.